continue with this theme of the life myth. And what I want to suggest is that in process work theory, one of the ways to consider our access to the dreaming level of life, the subjective, unintentional, frequently very unintentional, but potentially highly meaningful realm of our lives, is through what we can consider or call dreaming doorways. And with the life myth, or the big dream or song of life, I'd like to name a few potential dreaming doorways. The first one is what I addressed in the last podcast, which is our earliest childhood dream or memory. By the way, this gorgeous place where I'm in right now is in Village Homes in Davis, California. I'm up here for the weekend with my son Gabe, visiting my sister Chemaya. So that's why I have this lovely background here, and amazing sky and trees and gardens. Well, anyway, so yes, last time I talked about one rough doorway, which is the earliest childhood dream or earliest memory in life, regardless of when that happened, because some people don't really remember their childhoods. Now, I'll name a few other dreaming doorways where we might start to find areas and places and moments where the life myth expresses itself, emerges, lets itself be known. So one, which I'm going to talk more about today, is in our peak experiences, our most positive or troubling moment of life. We can also find it in the heart of our addictive processes. We can find them in our most acute or chronic physical symptoms. We can find them in these really deep or intense relationship experiences, either the very chronic patterns that we find ourselves in, or those really intense relationship moments. Just to name a handful of areas, again, dreaming doorways where we might begin to access the life myth. And importantly, using symbolic thinking, which I spoke about in the last podcast, it's that kind of thinking that can see something like a dream of kittens, blankets, and oatmeal and think, symbolically, comfort may be speaking. But we can use that kind of symbolic thinking, looking at these different dreaming doorways, and in a sense, cross-reference them and think, is there a connecting theme here? And we might find, oh, wow, my big dream may suggest this or that. So, peak experiences. I think with the everyday ups and downs of life, most people, it seems, they might likely point to an area or a moment in life where it's going, that was like the most amazing, most beautiful, most terrible, most traumatic, most joyous moment of my life. And again, thinking about it as like kind of a dreaming experience, you might cross-reference it with, for example, your earliest childhood dream or memory and think, not logically, but symbolically, or in the theme, or in the feeling of it, they're somehow related. Maybe. So I looked in the prior video, but I don't think I talked about my earliest childhood dream. So I'm going to go ahead and briefly describe it. It was a repetitive nightmare with 3 parts. The first part was an empty athletic field with a very sad song playing in the background. Then the second scene was an empty city, no people, incredibly dirty. And then the last scene was another city scene, empty and so clean. it was excruciatingly clean. Yeah, 3 parts. And I had the good fortune to talk about this dream with Arnold Mindell, the founder of process work. And he suggested this, that this dream, after asking my association to each of the parts, for example, the athletic field, where, I was terrible at team sports and I was often picked last, and then with the sad song, that was really reflective of the experience of being marginal, being ostracized, being other, and then having these 2 responses, the dirty response of my pain and anger, and then the clean response of transcendence. And that suggestion from Mindell has been so helpful for me over and over and over again, because the life myth, if it is the life myth, you'll probably notice that it keeps arising, not in every moment, although for some people it's a very continual process. But the big dream of life will tend to keep showing itself throughout life, in different areas of life, with health issues, relationships, work, etc. So, yeah, with the everyday ups and downs of life, there are these peak experiences. So with that early dream in the background here, so hold that a little bit, I had this experience, which I would consider, I'm good fortune to have a few really positive peak experiences in my life. And this one occurred some years ago. I was teaching a relationship course at Esalen Institute on the coast of Big Sur in California. Esalen, if you've never been there, is an amazingly gorgeous place, right on the cliffs of the Pacific. And so in the daytime, I was teaching this relationship course. And in the evening, in my own mind, I was fighting with my girlfriend at the time. We were having some relationship problems. I didn't ultimately stay with her, but so I was fighting with her at night. And one night, I spent hours just kind of hashing out this conflict I was having with her inside of myself. Yeah. And then finally I came to a place of resolution where I realized the inner girlfriend could love me and I could love her. And with that momentary resolution, I wanted to go to the baths. It was like the sun was just starting to emerge, and Esalen, they have these hot baths right on the cliffs. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. They're right on the cliffs of the ocean. And I started walking towards the baths. And I turned this corner, and there was the ocean. Yeah, the sun was just starting to rise. I'd worked on this relationship conflict inside of myself for hours. And it wasn't like I thought it, but my mind said, I'd like to see a whale. And a second or two later, a whale breached. Yeah, a whale jumped out of the water, and it was stunning. I mean, you have to think about that. Like, prior to that moment, I had never seen a whale breach in California. I'd seen it happen once in Hawaii, and I saw it a few other times later with a different kind of whale in California. But at that moment in my life, it's the first time, and I was thinking, the odds of that happening were astronomically small. So quite an experience. And later that day, I was kind of sitting with that experience and wondering, what was that experience about? And somehow I was imagining some intelligent part, something from the universe, say, that would in a sense, give me that kind of experience, yeah? Because as far as I'm concerned, I wasn't creating that experience. But this part in my sensing was giving me an experience that was unforgettable, that was in a sense showing me that I am connected. And I am connected at the dreaming level of life. And with this deep theme of marginalization and feeling ostracized that was reflected in my early childhood dream, that issue of connection, being part of, has been like a chronic issue, a chronic problem of mine. But to have that very striking experience of connection, and not necessarily connection in like the more usual ways, but connection to the dreaming level of life. It was both very meaningful and for me suggestive of a common theme, the theme of, marginalization being somehow addressed through transcendence. Sit with that for a moment, because I noticed that logically doesn't quite fit, doesn't make sense. But here's where symbolic thinking can help us start to see and understand these different dreaming doorways, and may also help us find the connective elements and themes. I'll sit with it for a moment. There's a nice breeze happening right now. So just sit with it for a moment. Maybe you'll sit with me. Yeah, this early dream, ostracized, the anger, the pain, and then transcendence. And then this peak experience where there's relationship conflict, working out things, finding mutual love, and then this request. I want to see a whale. And then the whale, something in a sense responding to my request. Wow, the connection at that level. See, it kind of happens in my feeling right now. Maybe you can sense it too. That the two dreaming doorways, what happened in the early dream and what happened in Esalen with the whale, they fit. They are connected. They are in their themes and their deep, I'm going to call it deep suggestions. Yeah, thematically connected. And that's where I also start to feel, even though marginalization has been a very painful issue in my life, it touches me saying that, embedded in the mythic process of marginalization itself is something that, for example, in the moment, I feel very fortunate to have, which is this transcendent, this natural response that's built into, it's an integral part of this mythic process, apparently, yeah, which is this transcendent possibility, this transcendent response. It's right there, part of it. And this peak experience, and I'll just say generally, peak experiences can be an intense example or intense expression of the life myth, where you really get to feel and experience something at the heart of your mythic process, sometimes in a very painful way, sometimes in a joyful way. And the other thing about the peak experience is that it can ripple out through time. It may also ripple out before the actual thing. It's almost like, how to say this, it's like peak experiences can be considered non-local. Yeah, there's the moment itself. But if you consider, if you think about a stone, throwing a stone into a pond, it ripples out. And some of the ripples naturally happen after the event. Yeah, you have this experience, and there's a reverberating. There's a lasting um, impression or repercussion. But you may also notice that it kind of ripples before the event too. There's subtle hints of it, little more subtle um, moments that were maybe like that. I wonder if there's anything else to say here for the moment. So I'll just repeat, hope it's helpful, that if you're interested in starting to explore this big dream of life, the life myth, because it's often not readily apparent, it just often takes a little exploration and decoding and trying to understand on its terms, which again may be best approached not through rational or logical thinking, but through symbolic thinking, that we might find a very meaningful process, a very meaningful theme, a way that identifies, for example, a main direction in life, may underline a main problem of life, and have its a natural solution, in a sense, as part of it. So I'll be continuing the next couple of podcasts with this topic of the life myth, and I'll cover the next dreaming doorway next time, which will be, I think, work with addictive processes. Okay, take care. Bye for now.